Hi, I'm Stacey.
And I'm Lois.
And this is Whose Girl Are You? Today, we have a special treat. We put together a compilation of some people that we had interviewed. We had each of them answer 20 questions. They're all married people, so it's all questions pertaining to marriage. So we have, the first one that we have is actually Anna, who's only 23. So sit back and enjoy.
Here's Anna answering 20 questions for married girls. You ready? How long have you been married?
Zeke and I have been married 3 years.
Nice. How old were you when you got married?
I was 19 and he was 21.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who noticed whom first?
Oh, I actually don't know. We met through mutual friends, and I happened to be with them, and he was at a church, and I was in the car with them, and we went to go pick him up. And I don't remember seeing him for the first time and being like, ooh, look at that guy. We just kind of hung out.
Yeah.
And then I was like, he's funny.
Yeah.
And we hung out like very frequently from that point forward.
Right. Nice.
But I guess I don't really know who noticed who first. I think it was pretty mutual.
Does your mom know? Okay.
Yeah, I think it was like a gradual thing, I think, for us. It wasn't like...
I think that if she doesn't know, he probably noticed her first would be my guess.
Maybe.
Probably. Okay. What do you remember about your first date?
Let's see. We had so when we had met, I was 15 years old. And
yeah.
Well, I promised my mom I wouldn't date until I was 16. And so we had this weird year of, I called him my not boyfriend. Because we wanted to like respect
right.
my parents' wishes of me waiting until I was 16. But then also, we were pretty much dating. So I called him my not boyfriend.
Yeah.
And so our first official date, he took me out to Panera Bread, and we actually ran into some friends or acquaintances, I suppose, when we were there, and ended up eating with them. And it was interesting. I don't know. We got back in the car and he was like, that's not how I was expecting that to go. And I was like, oh, whatever.
But it was good, right?
It was good. Yeah. It was fun.
Okay. How long did you date?
How long did we date? 15, 16, 18. 4 years.
Yeah. Except 1 year was not dating.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So maybe 3, if we're being literal.
The truth comes out.
How did he propose?
Oh, the proposal was kind of funny. He tied my ring to a fishing line and dropped it down grassy pond.
On a tip-up.
On a tip-up, yeah.
Oh, my word.
Like ice fishing.
Ice fishing, yep. So I was at home. I remember I was straightening my hair because I found out after that my mom knew, because he asked for my dad's permission.
Yeah.
And so my parents were aware that he was going to ask me that day. And so I was upstairs, like, straightening my hair and just doing whatever. And Zeke and my mom were texting, she's taking so long, but I had no idea what was going on. So I ended up taking our dog and meeting Zeke out on the ice.
Yeah.
And
well, the reason why we were texting though is because he was so nervous to tie that ring to the line and drop it.
Yeah.
That he was going to do it at the last possible moment. So he was like, text me when she's pulling out of the driveway.
Right.
Because he knew from here to there about how long it was, and so he was just on pins and needles waiting until at the last minute he knew he could drop it.
He's not dropping it down there for a fish to eat it.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I'm an oblivious person. I'm not a detail-oriented person by any means, I don't think. So I had no idea what was going on, because he was like, you couldn't tell how nervous I was? And I was like, no. I got to the ice, and he was just like, hey... We hugged, we chatted, he was like, Bear wants to play fetch, let's go look for a stick. So we like walked down to sort of the shoreline, I suppose, by the trees and found a stick, and we were throwing that for Bear. And I remember I was chasing Bear to get the stick, and I slipped and landed on my butt And I was like, I'm so glad that didn't put me in a bad mood, because knowing me, usually it would. But while I had my back turned, he threw a snowball at the flag to make it go up.
Mm-hmm.
And he had asked me, because he's an avid fisher, so he had asked me on and off throughout the years, like, do you want to reel in the fish? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And I did here and there. So when he was just like, oh, do you want to
fish on,
get this fish up? I didn't think anything of it. Yeah. And my first thought when I saw the ring coming up was, that is the shiniest weight I have ever seen in my life. And I like got it to come up, and I saw it, and it was pretty close, and all of a sudden he like reefed the fishing pole out of my hand, because I guess I was going too slow, and he was like, oh my gosh, like, she's gonna get a fish.
She's just enticing every fish in Grassy Pond.
Yeah. So, yeah.
They're all gonna see that bling from across the lake.
Yeah. I do still have it. Thankfully it was not eaten.
Oh, that's awesome. That is a great story. Okay. How many bridesmaids did you have?
5. We both had 5, so it was a party of 10.
Okay, cool. All right. Where were you married? Like, what was your venue? Church, home?
Church. Yep. Hope Fellowship Church in Jaffrey.
Cool.
Wedding and reception.
Okay, cool. What colors and style was your wedding?
More neutrals. I used burgundy. Burgundy was one of my colors. It was boho-y, I would say.
Nice. Did you honeymoon?
We did. We went to the Outer Banks in North Carolina.
Oh, cool. Okay, describe your wedding ring.
Dainty. Small.
Nice.
It is unique.
Yeah.
It looks like a flower.
It does look like a flower, yeah. It's unique, but it's tiny, and that's like my favorite thing about that. I have very long and skinny fingers. It fits me well.
Yeah, cool. All right. Do you remember your first fight?
Our first fight? Yes. I do remember.
Okay, is there a story there, or is you just leaving that right there?
We don't fight often. We usually only fight over big things, so it was a pretty big fight, so I'll just leave it as that.
Who do you think is a bigger sinner, you or your husband?
We'll say me.
Yeah. Everybody says that. Do you have children?
We do. We have one little boy.
Nice. Is there a subject that is hard for you personally to talk about with your husband?
I deal with mental health stuff, and so I have a hard time bringing it up in the moment when I'm struggling. I don't ever bring it up till after. And he's like, you need to tell me during. And I'm like, but during, I can't talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's good. That's a really good point to be aware of. So thanks for saying that. Yeah. Did you ever think you weren't going to make it as a couple?
No.
Okay. Did the D word ever come up?
No, we got into like, I wouldn't even call it a fight, but we were bickering when we were dating. And I remember being like, maybe we should just take a break. And he stopped dead in his tracks, and he was like, if you ever feel like you need to take a break now, then we can just like end this, because what are you going to do when we're married? You don't just take a break when you're married.
That's wise.
Yeah. So no.
Yeah. What's the best thing about being married?
Just doing life with your best friend.
Yes. What's the hardest?
There's been lots of challenges. I feel like the season of having a little kid has been very hard in ways that I wasn't expecting it to be.
Yeah, that's challenging because you don't have your time. There's always a baby there.
Yeah, it's a weird adjustment phase, and it's a good one.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, just an adjustment. Okay, who talks more, you or him?
Definitely me.
I know, I saw his video.
Yeah.
Which now has 250 something thousand views.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It is crazy. See our episode with Anna if you want to know what we're talking about. Okay. What is your ideal date night?
Ideal date night. I'm just a quality time person, so I think that kind of ties back a little bit into having kids. Before Talon was here, he's 1.5 now, we would literally just play video games in the same room, like different things, or he would play video games and I would read, or just being with each other. But now when we're home, I'm in mom mode. And so it's hard to do that. But I just like spending time with him. So whether we're going to the grocery store or I'm working on getting my motorcycle's license right now. So pretty soon we'll be able to ride together, and I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
But just being with him one-on-one.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. One more question. What advice would you give an engaged woman?
An engagement pertaining to like wedding planning or
anything, whatever you would want to say. Like whether it's for marriage or whether it's for the wedding itself or whether it's for.
I mean, as far as wedding planning goes, you do what you want. The whole, like the outside opinions, obviously ask for them and listen to it, but it's your wedding and it doesn't need to be big. I feel like smaller is better. And then as far as marriage goes, I got so many people when I got engaged being like, just prepare for that first year. They were acting like they were doomsday prepping me for after the wedding. And I got scared. I was just like, what? Like, I don't understand what they're talking about. Like, basically everything's going to go to crap after I get married. And that was not the case for me. So I guess, like, if you feel that way or if you're getting that preached at you, that's not always the case. So.
You know what? I feel like the same thing happens with babies too, though. They're like, just wait till they turn 1. Just wait till they turn 2. Just wait till terrible 3s. And you're like, what? And you know what? I'm going to give you that advice. Really? Kids are awesome.
Yeah.
Kids are awesome. There are stages that are harder when you're like sleep deprived and they're, but the kids are awesome.
Yeah, they are. My mom always says that there's pros and cons to every stage, and that's something that has definitely helped me through. And also that everything is temporary too. So there will be things that you miss in every stage, and then also things that you're like, woo, glad we made it out of that one.
Perfect. Thank you so much for doing these 20 questions with us.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
It's interesting to see, like, how different people from different generations answer the exact same set of questions.
Exactly.
And with that, let's see how my questions compare to my own daughter's.
Here we go with 20 questions for Stacey. There's more than 20 here, but how long have you been married?
25 years. Last month.
How old were you?
When I got married, I was 21.
How old was he?
He was 27.
Who noticed whom first?
Well, I don't know. I think I probably noticed him first. And he was playing his computer, so he still didn't notice me when I talked to him.
Existed?
Yeah.
What do you remember about your first date?
I don't remember my first date. And at all. Not at all. The first time I remember seeing him was at Elmer's, but we were like in a group of people sitting at a table.
How long did you date?
3 months.
How did he propose?
He went, so what? He said, well, you said I had to wait until next year to ask you. It was January 2nd. He was picking me up from the airport. We were driving down Airport Way in Portland. And I said, oh, yeah, it's the next year. And he said, so? I said, sure, why not? And I went back to my apartment. I said, I think I'm engaged.
Oh, that's so awesome.
2 weeks later, I got a ring.
How many bridesmaids did you have?
1.
Where were you married?
Vancouver Church. Apostolic Lutheran Church.
What colors and style was your wedding?
I wore a white prom dress that I got for $100 at the mall. And my girlfriend, I gave her $100 as well and said, buy a dress and cover your knees and don't show cleavage. And she picked out a really pretty lavender silk kind of gown. But like, yeah.
Did you honeymoon?
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Where?
Flew to Texas and boarded a ship and went on a Tex Caribbean cruise for a week and then went back to Texas. Then we flew from there to Puerto Vallarta and stayed for another week at an all-inclusive resort there.
Nice. That's awesome. Describe your wedding ring.
The actual wedding band is in the very middle. The engagement was like two strips with the big rock kind of joining them. Mm-hmm. And the wedding band actually slipped into it. Mm-hmm. But after being married for a little while, I had it soldered because I didn't like when my diamonds didn't line up because there's diamonds on every one of the 3 bands.
Yeah.
Little ones.
Yeah.
So now it's one piece.
Do you remember your first fight?
Yeah, it was actually at the marriage encounters that we went to the first year we were married. Whoa. We thought we were good, and then we went there, and they opened a big can of worms.
Yeah.
So we had a fight in the hotel room that night.
Who's a bigger sinner, you or your husband?
Oh, me, I'm sure. Hands down.
Do you have children?
3.
What subject is hard for you personally to talk about with your husband?
Finances.
Did you ever think you weren't going to make it as a couple?
No, because it was never an option.
Okay, that's the next question. Did the D word ever come up?
He threw it out a couple times, but I told him it wasn't an option. So he shut up about it.
What's the best thing about being married?
Oh, man. I like the comfort, the consistency, the structure, the constant friendship, the discussions. I love how the discussions have built on themselves over time.
Yeah. What's the hardest part about being married?
His snoring.
Who talks more, you or him?
Me.
Ideal date night?
Out to a good restaurant, home by 7.
What advice would you give an engaged woman?
Gosh. I don't know. Have grace. Just have grace.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's it. Those are the questions. Next up, we have my good friend Karen answering 20 questions for married girls. Enjoy. This is a treat.
So there's these questions that Lois has that she's going to ask you. And if there is any that you can just say pass. Okay. If you really, really are just like, I don't like that question, just say pass. Other than that, this isn't a deep thinking question. These are just like answer off the cuff.
So what we're thinking to do with them, I'll explain what we're going to do with them. There's 20 questions. They're about 20. It's a little more than 20.
I need to drink a coffee. Just a minute. No, I'm just kidding.
No pressure. No pressure. They're super easy.
Okay.
We're hoping to take them and then put it together into one episode where you just hear different people's perspectives. Somebody that's been married 50 years versus somebody that's been married 1 year.
It might just be funny, and there might be some that, like, it might be a combination of funny and crying. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get. But just, like, rapid fire them at her. You ready, Karen?
Sure. Lois knows how I think, so you have to, am I going to be able to do this?
I know how you think. Yeah. It's 20 questions for married girls. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Go.
How long have you been married?
32 years.
How old were you?
I was 29.
How old was he?
29.
Oh, cool. I didn't know you were the same age.
I'm 6 months older than him, so I don't really lord that over him too much. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Unless you need, you listen to your elders.
Yes.
Yeah. Who noticed whom first?
He noticed me.
What do you remember about your first date?
Talking.
That's awesome. How long did you date?
I think 2 years.
How did he propose?
He brought me to the piece of land that he wanted to build a house on.
Oh, nice.
That's sweet. Did you build a house there?
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
That's awesome.
Am I allowed to put something in that?
Yeah. Oh,
okay.
that's okay.
Okay.
I was divorced, Stacey, and I had 3 boys. My first husband didn't want to be a father. So anyway, I dated Scott, and the boys were gone with their dad one weekend, and he came and got me. He was living in the copper country. I was in Ishburne, and he came and got me, and he asked me to go for a ride. So I went for a ride, and we had kind of broken up because he went up to the copper country. And this is what he said to me. He brought me out that piece of land, and he said, I want to put a home here. And I said, oh, well, that's nice. And he said, and I want to marry you. And he said, the Holy Spirit is convicting me to raise these 3 boys because they need a father. And he said, I don't know how to do it, but I will do it.
I love that.
I know. I didn't know because I'm divorced if you wanted it in there. So
no, that's part of your story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But there are other people who have dealt with divorce, and they may be encouraged to know they're not alone.
Yeah. And it's been a wonderful ride. So, yeah. It's just such a cool story. Yeah.
How many bridesmaids did you have?
I had 1.
So did I.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you married? Like in a church?
Oh, we were married in a church in Calumet. Yeah. Do you want to know what church or?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sacred Heart Church was Catholic. My husband was a Catholic at the time.
Yeah. What colors and style was your wedding?
Well, my dress was white, and my maid of honor's dress was black and white, and the tuxes were, Scott was in white and his brother was in black.
Did you honeymoon?
Yes. We went to the Sioux Locks in Upper Peninsula.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Describe your wedding ring.
It's just like I don't know, it's just a diamond, and it's just one of those comfort bands.
All right. Do you remember your first fight?
No.
You blocked it out.
No, I didn't block it out, but we have disagreements. You know, we had fights, I'm thinking when we were younger, but I don't keep track of that stuff. I just don't.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Who's the bigger sinner, you or your husband?
I'm going to say
Everybody's
me.
chokes on that
I'm
question.
Say me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I love people's response to that.
I know. And it's always the same.
Oh, wait, Paul.
Really
he
wonderful.
said Paul said it. Okay.
Do you have children?
Yes. 3 sons.
Nice. What subject is hard for you personally to talk about with your husband?
I really got to say nothing. We talk about everything. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I talk a lot, and so does he, so who can stop us? Yeah.
Did you ever think that you guys were not going to make it as a couple?
What I want to say is, yes, there's times that I wondered, but I also knew it wasn't because we didn't love each other. It was circumstances in our life. We just went through a difficult 2 years. But you know what? God is good, and we're closer than ever, and we both have changed. You know, what might have been meant for bad was actually brought to good. So, yeah, no, and we're just so excited about the next chapter in our life.
Yes. Did the D word ever come up? Divorce?
No.
Okay. What's the best thing about being married?
Oh, he's my best friend. We just do everything together. And he, through my life, okay, I hope I don't cry.
You can cry. It's okay.
He, through my life, since we began seeing it and marrying, has been such a support and always there for whatever I want to do, whatever I feel God has called me to do. All the things I've done over the last 30 years while living in the copper country, I couldn't have done without his support. And he never, ever does not support me.
That's so awesome.
And so gracious. And I'm sorry, he's more gracious than I am. So, so therefore I'm the bigger sinner. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
What's the hardest thing about being married?
I never thought of that. I never thought that it was hard.
Okay. That's an answer. You're absolutely.
I would have to really critically think about that now.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. Yeah. Who talks more, you or him?
That's a toss-up.
I was going to say, after everything she said, I would say probably they're equally.
Oh, wait till you meet them,
both.
Stacey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, ask Lois. Yeah.
Yep. He is a great guy. All right. What is your ideal date night? Like, what would you like to do for a date night?
What our date night is just being together alone. Maybe, of course, I would like it by water because I love water, and just having some coffee and talking and sitting. That's just being with him.
Nice. Okay. One last question. What advice would you give to an engaged woman?
Grace upon grace.
Yeah.
Yes. Very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, there was something I was going to say to you. And this happened.
Yeah.
What pastor and me and Scott went there to talk.
Yeah.
And when we were at the point where I was going to move down here, and anyway, he was talking and I looked at him and I said this, and I think these words came from God.
Yeah.
I said, every one of us come to a point in our marriage where we think, how can we do this? Things have changed. There's significant seasons in our life of marriage. And this is a season that says, Karen, you're retiring from the church as being a deaconess. You're retiring from teaching. I said, I never retire from doing God's work. I just don't do that. But I said, and this is the place where couples come at our age and say, what do we have in common? And instead of trying to find out what this new season is about, they say, we have nothing in common, and they get divorced. So they go and try and find themselves, all that kind of stuff. That's said. Instead of saying, you know what? We raised 3 kids and we worked really hard and we kept doing that. And now we don't have to. But now who are we? Because we know those years changed us, but who are we now? And what do we have in common now? And maybe it's like, let's go find out.
That is great advice.
Yeah. So people who come to this point, no matter when it might be in your marriage, this is why it's a commitment.
Yeah.
And that would be something I really would like people to know. It's so worth it. Hang in there. Like I said, grace upon grace. That's the bottom line,
Yeah.
Because there's more fun times to have. So,
yeah.
But he loves your nephew. Oh my goodness. He said, did you ever think of living out west?
You sure could. You would be welcome.
When my grandchildren get all these friends and they're too busy, then we will. So,
yeah, there you go. When Mormore's not their favorite person in the world anymore.
Yes. That will come. It's coming. I see it,
It will. That's another season.
Yeah, that is another.
But hey, love the season you're in, right?
That's what I'm doing. I'm just enjoying it.
And hang on to the memories when you're done with it.
Yeah. And they have those memories but you know what? They talk to me about the Bible and they're asking all these questions and I'm like, yeah, because I can give them my, and I said, not everyone believes the same, but this is what Mormor believes.
Yeah.
This is what I think the Bible says. I said, and you'll have disagreements, but the main thing is we all love God and we all believe that Jesus died for our sins.
Yeah.
I get those moments and there's like, oh, when I think of my childhood, I think, oh, I'm so happy for my grandchildren. So
I know. Oh, that's so wonderful.
Yeah. To have grandmas like us, right, Lois?
Yep. Rocking the Grammy world.
Yes.
So cool.
Lois, I've got 20 questions for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. How long have you been married?
40 years this summer.
How old were you when you got married?
17, ripe old age of 17.
Yikes.
Needed my parents' permission.
How old was he?
21.
Okay.
He was an adult, a full-fledged adult.
Not old enough to rent a car, but yeah.
Right.
Who noticed whom first?
She noticed me first, and there's a story there, so, you know.
Oh, do tell. Oh, do tell.
Oh, it's so funny. Because it was years later. We'd been married. I was pregnant for our second already. We moved to New Hampshire, and my dear friends, Rodney and Joy, moved out there, who at that time I didn't know at all. They had lived in Washington. They moved to New Hampshire as well, and Rodney is Al's first cousin, so he's like, let's go visit Rodney and Joy. Let's go visit my cousin. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know them. I'm good. You know, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I wasn't.
You were just a kid.
I was just a kid, and I was not excited about meeting new people and, you know, going new places and things. I was like a little bit, not antisocial, but just awkward. You know, it's just that awkward meeting people. I've grown into that a lot. I'm excited to meet new people now. I wasn't excited then. Yeah. So we get there. And of course we have a great time. They're wonderful people. We're visiting, chatting away. We have kids the same age, so the kids are just playing and, you know, it's great. And, we were talking about, like, Joy and I were sitting there chatting about when we started dating and how old we were and how we met each other and, like, different things. And so I had met Al at a fall service, at fall services out here in Washington. I was out here with my brother. And he walked up to me at fall services and said, can I have your picture? And I was very young. I want to say I was 14, but I might have been 13. I was very young, very, very young. And I was just like, nope. And I took off. I was like, no, you can't have my picture. And I left. And it was very weird and awkward. So then I met him again the following summer in Michigan. And we hit it off and started dating and whatever. But then, as we're sitting in Rodney and Joy's living room visiting, I asked him, we were chatting about, I said that he had asked me for a picture and whatever. And I turned to him and I'm like, why did you walk up to a complete stranger and ask for her picture? Like, that's super weird. And he said, you were watching me. And I said, no, I wasn't watching you. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but I had never laid eyes on you. And he said, you were watching me during the services. And I said, no, I wasn't. I was watching a guy named Rodney Mattson. And then I realized I'm sitting in Rodney Mattson's living room talking to him and his wife. And I was dying and I wanted to fall through the couch because I was so embarrassed. I was like, I had a crush on a guy named Rodney Mattson. And then Joy starts laughing and she pulls out a picture of Rodney because in my brain, he was not Rodney Mattson. He was Rodney and Joy.
Right.
We were going to Rodney and Joy's house.
It didn't click with you, even.
It did not click.
Until that moment, and at that moment, you were dying.
I was dying and wanting to fall through the floor.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. And Joy was very gracious, and Rodney was very gracious, and I was very embarrassed. And they never let me forget it.
And your husband was very humbled because you actually weren't looking at him.
I know, exactly. Oh, it was so funny.
Yeah.
No, I used to tease Joy that I liked her husband before she did. And they had a wonderful, almost 40 years together.
Yeah. What do you remember about your first date?
Our first date was at the convention at one of the youth bonfires. So it was very public and it was very much, with people we knew. And it was awesome.
How long did you date?
So we dated for a while, but he was in Minnesota, I was in Michigan. So we wrote and we talked on the phone. And it was getting pretty serious, and I was only 15. I was feeling a little bit like this is getting too serious and I'm too young and I can't do this like for the next how many years, you know? So we broke up for a while. And then, you know, a while later, then we got back together. And then we married when I was 17. So.
Well, how did he propose?
He went and picked out a ring and he said, so I have something I think you want. And he showed me the ring.
Oh. And did you in fact want that ring?
I did want that ring.
How many bridesmaids did you have?
I had 2.
Where were you married?
In church, Tassel Church I grew up in.
Okay. Did you have your reception there as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What color and style was your wedding?
My girls had baby blue gunny sack dresses.
Yeah.
And the guys had dark blue suits.
Okay. That sounds pretty, actually.
That was.
Did you honeymoon?
You know what? I got to go back to the color and style. There's a story there too.
Okay. Yeah. Tell me more about the color and style.
So my colors were baby blue and dark blue. And my cake, so I worked at a restaurant and bakery, and they made my cake, which was fabulous and wonderful. But I went downstairs and the color was not light blue. I had bought silk flowers. I was going to have a silk flower cake topper.
Mm-hmm.
And so she had done all the blue frosting, decorating, whatever, the little ribbon things and whatever. And they clashed so badly because my frosting on my cake was like teal.
Oh.
And my cake topper, flower topper was baby blue, like my colors of my wedding. So I went and bought some fake flowers at probably Pomida or Kmart or wherever it was and popped the heads off of my colored cake topper and popped aqua colored ones on top. I'm trying to remember if there were ribbons in there. I had to switch out the ribbons too, maybe. I can't remember about the ribbons, but
you do remember it being a traumatizing thing.
It was traumatizing. I walked downstairs and I looked at it and I went, oh, that's my cake? It does not go with my wedding at all. I don't know what happened. I don't know if there was a miscommunication. I don't know if maybe you can't even make baby blue frosting. Maybe that's the most baby blue you can get. I don't know. I just know it was not right. And it was a little...
That cake decorator might have been a little colorblind is all. They were like, looks blue to me. Like, you can't trust me with blues and greens and purples and stuff like that. Like, I
don't see the difference.
I think my husband, no, I've been saying for years, my husband drives a purple truck and everyone's like, it's blue.
Oh, that's so funny.
I'm like, it looks purple to me.
Yeah.
I do that kind of thing.
Isn't that funny?
So good thing I'm not in the cake decorating business.
Right. You'd be traumatizing girls.
Yeah. Left and right. So, did you honeymoon?
Yes, we did.
Where?
We went the first 2 or 3 nights, maybe. We stayed at my dad's retreat cabin on Silver River in Skaney, which is fabulous. He gave us his house. He's like, here's the keys. And you're fishing in your underwear on the bank in the morning. It was completely private. There's a sauna, there's the lake, or the river, it was awesome. So we stayed there a few nights and then we went down to our apartment in Minnesota and we stayed there a couple of nights, and then we camped for a couple of nights. The Summer Nationals drag racing was the weekend after we got married. And so we went to the Summer Nationals in Brainerd, Minnesota.
Fun.
Yeah. And we camped. It was great.
Describe your wedding ring.
My wedding band had a diamond on it that hooked into the loop or hooks. They're soldered, so they're hooked all the time now. But it had a loop that hooked the diamond from the band hooks into the loop of the engagement ring. But I had them soldered because they were just they were rubbing and wearing each other out. They slipped just enough that they got thin on the backside, and when they fixed them, they're like, this is going to keep happening. And I said, just solder them. So they don't come apart anymore.
Same. I did the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I like that.
Do you remember your first fight?
No, we really did not fight a lot the first many years that we got married. But when we started to fight, it got pretty.
You don't remember what the first fight was about?
I don't remember what it was about. I don't remember what the first fight was, but we didn't fight we didn't.
That's good. You're not supposed to keep a record of wrongs.
I know, right?
That's been forgiven, right? That's been forgiven.
Oh,
it's okay that you don't remember that.
Yes. Thank God.
Who do you think is a bigger sinner, you or your husband?
Me, definitely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because you know what? I don't know inside of his head. I know inside of my head. Oh.
Yeah. Do you have children?
We do.
How many?
We have 8 here and 1 in heaven.
Is there any subject that's hard for you personally to talk with your husband about?
I can't think of any specific subjects. I think the more personal something is, the harder it is to talk about for me. You know, the closer it is to my heart, the harder it is to talk about. And that's not only with my husband, that's with anybody.
Right. Did you ever think that you were not going to make it as a couple?
Yes. But
did the D word ever come into it?
Maybe not overtly, but like in the way of saying, should we just end this? You know, rather than saying the word divorce.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really interesting because although I was only 17 when we got married, that was the one thing that I was absolutely firm on was this is forever. I don't care what kind of hell or high water comes. We're working out our crap.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no option. Because my parents had split up. They hadn't divorced. They just didn't live together for the last, 40 years of their lives or whatever. I was probably 13-ish, 12, 6th grade when we sold the farm. And after that, they didn't really live together much.
So they didn't get legally divorced, but
they never got legally divorced.
They lived like they were divorced.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were never legally divorced, but they lived separately, completely, and like they were divorced.
Yeah, I've heard that from other people whose parents got divorced or separated, or usually it's divorce. It's pretty. It's odd. It's odd to be apart for that many years and never actually get a divorce. But the people that I know that have come from divorced families definitely have even this stronger, I'm never going to let that happen. Mm-hmm. Like if they're born again believers, especially, right? That like I am not going to put kids through that. I am not going to.
That was it.
Yeah. But then statistically speaking, kids from divorced families have a higher, and just statistics, obviously.
I know.
There's exceptions to all these rules, but statistically, if you come from a divorced family, you have a higher chance. And if both of you came from a divorced family, even a higher chance. And then every divorce that someone has, if they do get remarried, every marriage lasts half the amount of time as the previous one before it.
Because marriage is hard. And it's compromise and it's sacrifice and it's service. So, and yeah.
I'm kind of glad you brought that up though, because there's something about going into it with that Sisu attitude, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And like I said, I was the most naive, most wild, rebellious attitude on 17-year-old you've ever seen. But that was one thing that was absolutely rock solid. Is this is going to work. And I don't care if we have to stay up till 2 a.m. fighting behind closed doors every day of our marriage. Mm-hmm. It's happening forever. That's it.
Yeah, we went in with the same attitude about that as well. And I'll say this, like, there's sometimes that divorce needs to happen because of abuse.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
You know, there are those situations where it's the best thing for the adults and the children alike. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, rarely, yes. but sometimes it's the best thing. Mm-hmm. But if you are blessed enough to have a marriage that you can work through, that's not abuse wise, it's a legacy.
Yes.
It's such a legacy. Like when, even looking back at both sides of our family, that there's no divorce. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like it's getting rarer and rarer, Lois. So
I know.
Good on you for, like, even when you thought it wasn't going to make it, you fought through it. And here you are saying that you just said you're going to be on 40 years. You're getting ready to celebrate that.
And that was probably 7, 8, 9 something years in, you know, I mean, it was already
a long time ago. Yeah.
It was a long time ago, but it was already many years into marriage. It wasn't like 6 months. We went, oh man, this is hard. We're done with it. You know, we had many happy years before it got hard. Yeah. And then it got really hard for a while. And I think for anybody listening, if your marriage is in a place of, this is hard, this is sacrifice, this is service, it's giving of yourself, know that it doesn't, I will say I got to the point where I thought that I did not love my husband anymore. Mm-hmm. I felt in my heart like I didn't love him. Like, I don't love him. Why am I doing this even? Mm-hmm. And I know for myself, I know from experience, and I've talked to other women, that love does return. It will return. You know, it's different because it's not like those 15-year-old butterflies. I mean, as in I was 15, not like our marriage was 15 years old. You know, it's different. But it's a stable and firm and confident love.
Yeah.
But it comes back. Mm-hmm. It really can. And I have talked to many, 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 many women, nearly everyone I know who's been married, who has said their marriage has got to a point where it's been hard. I just want to encourage anybody listening, like, if you want to reach out, you can contact me. I'll talk about it. I will talk about it, and I will share, and I will listen without judgment, and I will support you and encourage you because it's worth it.
Yeah, it gets tough. Tough. But just because something gets hard doesn't mean we quit doing it, right?
Yep, exactly. Yeah.
Wow, thanks for sharing that. So with all that, what's the best thing about being married?
The best thing is being joined as one flesh with someone who knows you, who knows you're good, who knows you're bad, who knows your faults, who knows your, like, everything. He knows everything. Mm-hmm. And he still loves me, which, like I said, I'm a bigger sinner. And that's fabulous.
Yeah. What's the hardest thing about being married?
The sacrifice. Because, you know, you have two opinions. And mine is not a submissive nature. So submission is
Yeah, I get that.
It's not always easy.
No, it's not. It really is not. You know, even one of the little bits of wisdom from what's that book?
Which one?
Yeah, it was like that one Bible study that I did that I was just like, this is the worst Bible study I've ever done. I hate this book. I want to throw it in the trash. But it was also the most helpful as well. Love and respect.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And the one thing I took from that was, you don't need to respect your husband because he deserves it. You need to respect your husband because God called you to it.
I know.
Ooh. And if I'm doing all things as unto the Lord, that helped me though.
I know.
Because I can do it for God.
Mm-hmm.
I can do for God what I don't want to do for someone else that I don't feel like deserves it.
Yeah.
In that moment.
Yeah, totally.
Ugh.
Totally. Yep. That's a downer.
We should do the hardest first and then the best second, you know?
Yeah, right.
Whatever. So who talks more, you or him?
Oh. I think him? Yeah, him.
Yeah. What's your ideal date night?
Steak dinner on, let me think. I was going to say at the lake, and then I'm like, wait, there's mosquitoes. There's
in a screened-in porch at the lake.
In a screened-in porch at the lake. There you go.
That's fun.
Just hanging out, you know?
Yeah.
Good dinner. We're almost empty nesters, so, you know, we're just about done with raising kids, and we got lots of alone time and lots of hanging out time, and it's good.
Yeah. You never picture that it will ever be that way.
I know.
When you're in the throes of it, yeah.
Yeah.
You had a lot of kids. Your house was chaos.
I know, and my house was chaos for many years, and it's so crazy because our kids are spaced out so far. Let me think. When my youngest was born, my oldest was, I gotta think this out. Give me a second to do the math. 34 years?
24 years.
I was like, 34 years? It can't be 34 years.
You're not even that old.
Okay, 24 years. So, when my baby was born, my oldest was, you know, almost 25.
Right.
So, there were a lot of years of babies.
Yeah. Do you have any advice that you would give an engaged woman?
Yes. I probably already gave it. Know that this is going to have really, really good, happy, fulfilling times. And it's also going to have lonely, hard, awful times. And you're going to get through both of them. This too will pass, no matter what it is. And love the good times and work through the hard times.
That's good advice. Someone told me when I was engaged, it's not all moonlight and roses. Sometimes those roses are dead and that moon is behind the clouds. I was like, yikes, lady. Like, you going through a rough patch or?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know. Yeah.
I was like, oh, how encouraging.
I know, right? And that's why I don't want to be the downer, but I also don't want people to just, you know, lie and say it's the best thing and it's the easiest thing. 'Cause it's good. It's so good, but it's also the most challenging thing I've ever done to stay married for 40 years.
See, yeah, I mean, I'm only 25 years in. I got a ways to go to get to that point, but we always said that marriage was easy. Marriage with kids, that's hard.
Mm-hmm. See, and that may be, we didn't have a long time. We had our first baby a year after we got married. So we only had 2 years. Yeah.
I got pregnant at our 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
And then, it takes almost 10 months to have the kid. So it was we were almost up on the 2 year mark before we had her.
Yeah.
But, everyone said the first year is the hardest and we didn't find that to be true at all.
Yeah.
And then we had a kid and we were like, oh, maybe this is what they're talking about. 'Cause it's sleep exhaustion and.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And figuring out how to parent
All the things.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's a big change in life. Like this little.
Yeah. Some people fall into it so easily, but.
Naturally.
Yeah. I didn't have that.
Yeah. Well, I know. And I think the responsibility.
I felt like you seemed so natural as a parent.
You didn't know me when I had only one.
I didn't. That's true.
I had already done that merry-go-round a few times before I met you.
Okay. Yeah. That's why you just look like
my
a pro.
My oldest was probably, when did you guys get married? What year?
97, 98.
So, yeah, I mean.
You only had 2 or 3 kids, didn't? Well, no. No, you didn't. You had quite a few kids, but only the 2 oldest would like hang out with us.
Yeah.
Like they'd visit with us.
But that's what I'm saying. He was already 14. If it was 98, my oldest he was born in 84.
Yeah, that's why he was hanging out talking with us and visiting. Because he couldn't go out yet. He was too young to go out.
Yeah, he was 13 or 14 or something.
Uh-huh.
So.
Well, thanks for answering the 20 questions.
Yeah.
Sorry about interjecting. I almost can't ask questions and not interject. I really need to try harder.
You're good. Don't apologize. This is your podcast. You can do whatever you want.
Ooh, watch what you say. Mm-hmm. Last but not least, we have Deb answering the same 20 questions you've heard. It might be the 4th time you're hearing these, but they're also different. So stay tuned. So there's this list. That list that you asked me, Lois, where I just rapid fired them off. Like, don't really think about it. Just kind of answer really quick. I'm wondering if, Deb, are you game for this?
I'll try it.
Just rattle it off.
Ditch it if you have to.
Whatever comes to your mind.
All right. Are you ready?
Oh, I guess so. I don't know what I'm doing, but.
Cool. How long were you married?
Almost 45 years.
How old were you when you got married?
20.
How old was he?
19.
I didn't know he was younger than you. Okay.
I didn't either.
See, you learn something months. Every day. Wow. Who noticed whom first?
Oh boy. I'm not sure. We were both staying at my uncle's house. They had built a new one in Michigan. And we were at a convention. We both stayed at the same house. So the house was full of young people. I don't know which of us saw which first, but I wasn't like goo goo gaga. I want to go out with him.
Mm-hmm.
So he probably noticed you first.
Maybe.
What do you remember about your first date?
First date, I was not sure if I should go on it because I had made plans with a couple girls and I didn't want to be that rude person that ditches your friends.
Mm-hmm.
But then I kind of caved.
Oh boy. How long did you date?
A couple of years, I think.
Okay. How did he propose?
He had some yellow roses and one red one. And he walked me down to the frog pond by his mom and dad's house.
That's awesome.
Was it like in the spring now where you hear all the peepers croaking and peeping?
It was in October.
Okay.
But first he called my dad and asked if permission.
Nice.
What a gentleman.
Yes, nice. How many bridesmaids did you have?
3, all sisters.
Oh, nice. Where were you married?
In Sherwood, Oregon, because we went to the Portland church at the time and they were fixing to build one. That's Southern. Fixing to build one.
Mm-hmm.
And in the meantime, the one that we were renting didn't have a place to eat or anything. So we rented one.
Okay. What color and style was your wedding? Like, what were the colors?
Pastels, pink, blue, and lavender.
Mm-hmm.
The girls each wore one of those colors?
Yeah. And I wanted the guys to have those same colors and ruffled shirts, and my dad wouldn't let me. And I cried and cried and cried. And I told my boss's wife at work, because she worked there too. And she said, honey, in about 10 years, when you look back, if you just do the white shirts, they'll still be in style, but the other ones won't.
So practical.
My parents' wedding, all the guys had baby blue ruffled shirts.
Yep.
What year did you get married?
76.
Okay. I think my parents got married in 73 or 74.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay. Did you honeymoon?
We did. We drove around Oregon. Yeah.
Nice.
Just road tripped it for how long?
Yeah, just 3 days. And then my brother died.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
Yeah, that's cut back to reality real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Describe your wedding ring.
My wedding ring is, I remember they said it was die struck, and that was better than some other kind of way they make them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got center stone that's about 1/4 carat with 2 little tiny ones on opposite each other, and it's got gold leaves on it.
Nice.
And I've never taken my wedding band off, ever.
Wow.
What?
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
I hardly ever have mine on.
It might be lost.
I've lost it a few times. It's always gotten found, though.
Yeah. Okay, Deb, do you remember your first fight?
First fight? Oh, dear. No, I don't remember my first fight, but I remember, I don't know what he said, and I slapped him. Slapped his face? It sounds so immature and not me. Like, I don't do that kind of thing. But I was so dumb. And he let me know real quick that was not going to happen again.
Yeah.
And it never happened again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just a dumb, silly, stupid thing to do.
Yeah. It was immaturity, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you were not married 40 years when that happened. Right?
Right.
You were young.
She was probably young and pregnant or something. Let's
there
give
you
her the
go.
benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, exactly. Who was a bigger sinner? You or Frat?
Oh, goodness. Oh, I don't know how in the world you'd ever measure that.
I know, right?
When she asked me the question, I was like right away, like me.
Well, because you know yourself, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, shoot.
Deb's like, pass.
He was more
Pass.
humble
You
than
can-
me, I know.
That's
He
a
had
good
less
answer.
pride than me, I know.
Yeah.
So I'm going to
That's a good
say
answer.
I'm the bad guy here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have children?
I have children, yes.
How many?
I have 5 now. Yeah.
One in heaven?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have 1 in heaven, so I have 5 here and 1 there.
Yes.
More than 1 there, but let's just keep going.
Yeah.
What subject was hard for you personally to talk about with your husband? Or maybe I should say, was there a subject?
Gosh, I'm sure there were, but I'd say probably confessing sin, but I probably don't want to go into that too deeply right now. But we really believe that between a husband and wife, you shouldn't have any secrets.
Yeah.
And that I still to this day believe that in almost every case, but I just think that if they don't know the real you, then you can never accept that they love the real you. So.
Those are some wise words if I ever heard them.
Yes, that is very wise. Did you ever think that you weren't going to make it as a couple?
No, I never did. We had some times that were pretty rough, but even in the roughest of times, somewhere deep down there, we were still best friends. And we had that commitment that we just figured, hey, this has to work because we don't have any second chances.
Yeah. Yeah. Did the divorce word, the D word, ever come up?
No.
Okay.
It was a kind of a forbidden situation there.
What was the best thing about being married?
Being cherished, I guess, just off the top. I mean, maybe that's not a good answer, but I'm going to go with it.
Yeah. Being what you said earlier, being someone's favorite person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What was the hardest thing?
Letting them go.
Yeah. My word.
Yes. We know the answer to this question, but we'll ask it anyway. Who talked more?
Yeah, he did.
He did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he did.
Though I'm not short of words myself, but I found in that family, you know,
You were quiet.
or the family, you just sit back and just let them go, because to try cut in is going to be too much work.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so did you and Frat have an ideal date night?
Not particularly. Not like a scheduled one, you mean?
If you had your favorite favorite idea of a date, like what was your favorite idea of a date?
Oh. No.
I picture you guys, I don't want to answer for you, but I picture you guys taking the bike out.
I was just going to say that. Take the bike out and go eat and maybe even go up to Henderson and get a motel.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in the days when you still had kids in your house, right?
Right.
Couldn't stay home.
Right.
What piece of advice would you give an engaged woman?
This might take a couple of minutes, but the best advice I ever got, I think, in making a relationship work was from Marriage Encounter.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that thing where, I mean, there's so much more to it that you could write a whole book about it, but the essence of it is that if you have things to discuss, and you will, that you don't agree on or that's disturbing you or whatever, take your time to do it in the right environment, not on the fly. And when you're both serious about something you got to discuss, do it with your finger pointing at your own heart instead of at their face. Mm-hmm. Because you'll get completely different results doing it one way or the other. And I wish everybody knew this from the get-go. Mm-hmm. And I did this, it was funny, I told this to a friend of mine, and it turned out being an actual issue in their life. Whoops. But I said, supposing, and I just off the cuff said, supposing it just really bugged you, I said to the girl, if people park all wonky out here, it's like, if people could just all go kind of in straight line there, then there'd be room for more people, because they have a lot of in and out people and stuff. And instead of saying, how come you always park cockeyed over there? A lot of people can't park if you do that. That would be a typical human thing to blurt out.
Right?
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Just instead point to your own heart and say, I might be a little quirky.
Yeah.
But if you could humor me and park like in straight lines there, that'd be probably pretty cool, because then other people could come in here and fit, in those other spots.
Yeah.
Think of the difference of whether they're going to want to do it or not in the way you present that. So that would be it. I think it would really make a difference for people if they could catch that.
That's brilliant.
It kind of ties into the whole, instead of saying I have a problem with you, saying we have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the conflict resolution, like, what's my part in this, and how do I propose this in a way will be heard?
Mm-hmm. Well, come in humble.
Yes, absolutely.
If you're not starting from a place of humility, you're just setting yourself up too.
Right.
If you come in from a place of pride that you're in the right and they're in the wrong, like you're going to make them defensive from the first word out of your mouth.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's not just in a marriage. It's like in any relationship, like you said, whether it's like talking to a parking attendant or if it's whoever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, that was the last question. I really, really enjoyed doing this 20 questions. It was so fun. I love the variety. I love the individuality. People are just fascinating creatures, I tell you.
Super. It's so interesting. I love to to hear, and not to go into any comparisons at all. It's not about that. It's just everyone's got a story and I want to know what it is.
Yeah.
And I am working on a new set of 20 questions. And if someone has some questions that they're dying to know what people would answer, email them to me at whosegirlareyou@gmail.com, WHOSE, whosegirlareyou@gmail.com. And I'll add them to the next list for the next compilation that will come out in probably a few months.
Perfect. Oh, that's so awesome. I love it. Yes, we'd love to hear from you. If you have feedback, if you are willing to be a guest, if you have something that we need to talk about, contact us. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, let us know.
Mm-hmm. So thanks for listening to Whose Girl Are You? Thanks for your support. It's been a fabulous treat to put these together and hear from all of our guests all the questions about being married. Take care. Have a good day.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.